Now,
You're live.
and we'll be live in just a second.
Okay.
It's thinking.
Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Yes, and we are live.
Well, good morning, Mrs. Mel. Yes, good morning. And good morning, parents. Welcome to our second episode of Math Chats with Parents. We are delighted that you've joined us this morning and have Mel on the line, if you will. And good morning, Mel.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. How are you? Happy Saturday morning.
Yes, beautiful Saturday. We got a beautiful day here in the great volunteer state of Tennessee, which is where we're coming to you from. And we're excited to be with you about 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes, parents. It's 2020. And we're going to share some things, some great strategies, great examples today of problem solving, some things that we've been talking about over the week, some parents have shared with us over the week, and we're going to share that with you and be able to upload some things to our Facebook page as well as to our website so that you can download and do with your students to promote problem solving, critical thinking, and computational reasoning, math reasoning. Get them ready for fall, right, Mel?
Yes.
You there with
again from the Holloways, the Mel
Yep.
Holloway. Again, just to recap, last week we were able to talk about some problem solving things. We just kind of gave an overview of what we'll be talking about on the sessions. I just wanted to quickly say, I said this last week, I'm so honored to be able to work with Dr. Michelle. I was like, what am I going to say? I've got like a quick little blurb to kind of discuss what where we are going in years. 55 years worth of educational experience between the two of us. And we started back 18 years ago. We've been colleagues, we've been prayer partners, we've been in businesses, in boardroom meetings together, we've been on conferences together. We probably spent the last with you again, and that's why I call her Dean, because I took a class where she was the Dean of the school. So that kind of comes out, it just flows out. But thank you, Dean. I'm so excited about sharing all these different strategies today and things that I've implemented here with my family.
Amen. That's good. That's really good. And we have a little bit of drag going on, parents, but you know how this is internet. Just kind of hang with us, and so we're here. So don't leave us if you experienced that little bit of a technical difficulty, as we call it. But we're hoping and believing that you will be hearing us clearly today. So yeah. So just again, if you're joining us for the first time, we are here. As Mel said, I'm Dr. Michelle. We are here to work with you throughout the summer to help your kids be math ready and grade level ready for the fall. Now, we don't know what that fall is looking like. I'm sure if you're watching from the West Coast, the South, the North, the East Coast, everybody's got a different scenario, right, Mel, in terms of school situations. And so but we're anticipating that schools will come back and the teachers are going to be ready to go. Your kids have to be ready to go. And it may be a little form of homeschooling still. We may still have some of that, but either way, parents, you are going to be ready to help your child get through all of their math learning, to whether they're in high school, whether they're in middle school, whether they're in elementary school, and particularly for K-8, because those are grades that are really shaping grades, we like to say. So we're just wanting you to be the big, I guess, supporter, your child's biggest supporter when it comes to math learning. And we're attempting to help you do that. So we've got some fun things to talk about today, right? Mel?
Yes, and I'm so excited about what we're going to share today. Um,
Yes.
I'm going to start off really quickly. So
Okay, good.
last week, I kind of challenged the teachers, I mean, the parents, sorry, challenged the parents to
And maybe teacher.
pull, yeah, and many teachers to pull from their child's work. Here's his book. This is what we use here in Tennessee in Rutherford County. And most of the pages have not been done because we ended school early. So what I did was I pulled out one page. I want you to pull out just one page. And I folded it in half and I gave him one problem from the book, right?
You gave
So
me a rising fifth grader.
rising fifth grader, that is exactly right. And so we pulled out a geometry. This summer, Mike and I have been working on measures and those, but now I was able to give him a problem where he had to paint a picture. I mean, the problem said, what if you had a wall and there was a window in the middle of it? If you remove the window, how much space would you have to paint? So we talked about that. You can see our little scribbles. And so it took us a minute to get to it. Mikey said, Mama, that was hard. I'm like, but that was something that you want your kids to work through math problems that are difficult. Not necessarily for the right answer, but you want them to be able to struggle through the problem. So I guess you're saying, well, Monique, well, I've got a workbook, but I don't really know which problems to pull. We don't do a whole lot of problems through the week, maybe one or two. And what you can do is just flip through your child's book. And if it has show your work, right here, show your work, it's a great, that's a great resource.
It's a great resource.
This problem is going to be we use a spit back. It's just not a right there answer. They have to kind of dig and look for the answers. So
that's good.
Michelle?
That's really good. I like that because we were talking about problem solving in the steps last week. And so he had to get this problem. You just grabbed a good problem that has to show his thinking, right? As to show his thinking. And I'm sort of recapping it because we had a little bit of drag in there. So I want to just recap for you parents, but she picked a problem out of a book and a nice math problem. Mikey had to show his thinking with it. And notice he had, there was a drawing, all of these strategies. One of the things we talk about in problem solving is how do you understand the problem? Well, you understand it by certainly reading it, drawing a picture to help you kind of see what's going on. And I think in that case, a picture was already given, right?
That's right, correct.
That's right. And so he had to sort of think about it and come up with some strategies for solving it. And he picked one of those strategies, and it certainly helped to have that diagram, because drawing a diagram is a real big strategy in problem solving because it's used throughout. Builders don't build big buildings without having what? Scale models of the building. It's kind of hard just to go out there or without having their blueprints, we call them, right? So you can't just go and start building without, having something to reference. And, so that diagram becomes a really useful tool and a useful strategy for solving that problem. And then he went back. It sounds like Mikey got a chance to go back and say, oh, Mom, that was a little challenge. But I like what you said, Mel, about enabling students to enter that productive struggle. You talked about it last week. And that is really helpful because it's not like you want to put your kids' parents in, where they're all just frustrated or upset. That's not what she's saying. She's saying, it's struggle just that enough challenge to keep them engaged in that problem so that they're thinking about it. And it's really enhancing their math reasoning skills when they do that. So that's really good. I'm glad you did that. We might get a chance to share some of the other parents some of their ideas too in future episodes. Yeah. So we got another thing though. We've got some algebra kind of stuff to talk about, right, Mel?
We do. So we are going to pull up a slide and we're going to discuss some of the things that you can do at home with your students. Something you can pull off the internet real quick, type it into Google it, as we say, Google it, pull
That's
it up, and really fun things. And actually, you've probably seen some on Facebook. So the first thing I'm going to pull up, I'm going to share my screen here. There you go. Here I'm gonna switch this over just a little bit. So here are a couple algebra problems. It's so funny because Dean and I worked them. You know, you're supposed to work the work before you get started. We worked it last night. We were like, okay.
But I love these problems because really, can you hear me, Mel? Okay.
I'm gonna move this so it's kind of sort of out of the way for the first one. There you go.
But I love these problems because you can use these problems across grade levels. So you're not limited. I mean, you can do these as family puzzles, right, Mel?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're not limited. So if you have younger age children in elementary school, they can do these problems because they'll be working on their number facts a little bit, maybe upper grade elementary. And then if certainly middle school students should be right on it. And then your high school students, hey, they should be able to sail away on this on these problems. So and then some of them may have, kind of different answers based on how you look at it. So let's just do one aloud here, Mel, and sort of think about how we talk about our process if we did. So we got three apples equated to 9. So that kind of gives us a clue that each apple may be worth 3, right?
Exactly, because we know.
Go on.
Yeah, so each one equals 3 because we're trying to get to the sum of 9. And one really cool thing you can do with your kids is ask them questions. So as we walk through, I'll try to throw in a few questions. So I would say, Michelle, how did you get 9 from using those apples? That's a question you could ask your kids.
Right, especially because then have them say, well, 3 plus 3 plus 3 more gives me 9, so that they are really sort of thinking through, okay, 3 is 9. And then now you might ask, well, how is this related to algebra? And maybe we could talk about that a little later, because think of the apple, when you get in middle school, Mel, the apple, we throw away the apples.
Yeah, we throw away, and we put that box there, and then you put letters, and how do letters relate to numbers? But they do.
Right. We put X or Y or what, and then we say 3X equals 9, right? So it's the same kind of thing that, you really started in grade school. We just make it the notation a little bit more formal and more generic, if you will, but it's the same type of information. So if we go to that second row, parents, if you're following us now, you got that. Some of you, I know you all have solved this thing already. You said, well, an apple is 3 and we've got the 2 bananas left. So what 3 plus what makes 7? That's going to give us what? 4. So each bunch, what do we call these, bunch of bananas or what?
Yeah, bunches. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, each bunch of banana then is therefore worth what? Worth 2 each, right, parents? Y'all following us? And so we've got 3 plus 2 plus 2 equals 7. And then if we go to our third row, where you got the bunch of bananas, that was 2. You've got the apple, we know was 3. So parents, what does that leave for the carrot? The 1 carrot. The 1 carrot should be 5. Is that right, Mel?
That's right. Yeah.
Yay. So the 1 carrot is 5. Now this is where Mel and I just started laughing last night because they tricked us. They put 2 carrots and 1 banana in the last row. Somebody tore off one of the bananas, I guess. So, and then we added a carrot. So let's see, what was our carrot? Our carrot is 5. So in the last row, then 2 carrots should be worth 10. And 1 carrot would be what? 2?
Yeah, 1 banana would be 2. 1 banana would be 2.
Okay.
And our apple would be 3.
Oh no, 1 banana would be 2 bunches of banana was 2, and then so one banana would be 1. Right.
That's
So
right.
we have 10 plus 1 plus the apple is 3. So I think we end up with 14. Is
Yeah, that's
that right?
right. That's right. Yeah, I think so. We had to double check. All like, okay, Dean, is that right? Is that? Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
And this is beautiful because really when you get to high school algebra, it becomes like systems of equations.
Yeah.
We call it systems of equations. Now, you parents who have high school kids, just ask them about it. They take an algebra, they should know about systems of equations. You've got 3 equations in here. You got to find, okay, which one is, what is apple worth? What is the bunches of bananas worth? Or what is the bunch of banana worth? And what is the carrot worth? And then you substitute that value in for the last row, and voila, you have a situation that is algebraic thinking. Yay.
This starts way back in kindergarten. Like this type of thinking starts in kindergarten, and it goes back to the notion of no fear of math. We kind of talked
Yeah.
about that in the first episode. How growing up, a lot of us were afraid of math, so you don't really have those math conversations in your home. But this is an easy way. It doesn't have X's, it doesn't have Y's, it doesn't have boxes. It has fruit, and we are pretty comfortable with fruit.
Right. Right.
And the next one has candy.
The next one has candy. That's right. We love candy. Right? Kids love candy. Kids do a lot of math with candy. They do use, if I have to say, M&Ms. They use Skittles, and we've made a whole. There's been a whole curriculum built off M&M math.
Hershey bars and fractions, yeah.
And what now?
Hershey bars and fractions.
Oh yeah, Hershey bars and fractions. That's right. You know, the the Mars company should love the math teachers.
Oh, absolutely.
We have really helped their bottom line, I would say. Now, this next one, we're going to talk a little bit about this next one, and this one was funny because we were trying to do this late last night, parents, and we were like, so you got candy, you got the pink candy. We're just going to use the colors if you can sort of see that. And this one was interesting because it could lead to different scenarios depending on how one does it, one thinks about it, right, Mel? That's so right. What were we thinking? Okay, should I tell them what we were thinking initially, and then we'll go back?
Yeah, give them our initial thought.
Okay, if I can remember what the initial thought was. So I can. So I think we thought that initially our pink candy or whatever was 2. And we said, okay, well, if that we allow that to be 2, then 2 times 2, because this has multiplication in it, parents. This is why we love this one. 2 times 2, of course, is 4. Then to get to 16, the orange candy would have to be worth 4. So we said, okay, that's cool. Then we got to the second row. We said, well, the blue candy, we've got X times X times X, if you will, is 27, but blue times blue times blue candy. So each piece has to be 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 will give us 27. However, when we got to the third row, it was like, it wasn't working, because now they have 2 blues. So that would be like 2 3s, 3 plus 3, right? So that would be 6. And then if the orange was worth 4, that would be 6 times 8, because now you've got 2 oranges. And we thought, well, wait a minute, that's not right. Something's wrong. So what do you have to do? Sometimes when you guess a certain value, you have to go back and look and say, well, wait a minute, let's start over. And so that's exactly what Mel did. And this was late last night. We were trying to get ready for today. And she says, wait, well, suppose the 2, the pink is, what did we say it was then? 2?
4. Yeah, we said it was 4.
4. Yeah, suppose it was 4. So if it's 4, then that makes the orange now 1.
That's right.
And then of course the blue is still 3, but now let's go back to that third equation and see if we can think about it even more. So that third equation, if blue is 3, we still have 6. And if the one orange is 1, then two of them would be 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. So now we've got all the equations solved. But then they add a challenge, and this is what we loved. Oh, we love this challenge, parents, because The challenge says, okay, what if we take one orange, which would be 1, and then we have the pink is worth 4, right, Mel? You keep
Right.
okay, and then the blue is worth 3. So now, if we do order of operations, which legitimately we should do, because that's a process in mathematics, it's a convention in mathematics to multiply first and then add. So we would multiply, the pink is 4 times the 3 would be 12. And then we'd add the orange, which is worth 1, and we'd get 13. Right, Mel? That's what we ended up with. However, suppose your child is young enough to where they may not understand that order of operations, because I don't know when order of operations kick in. Mel, is it around the 3rd or 4th grade?
Yeah.
I didn't hear.
Oh, 5th grade. They start in 5th grade.
About 5th grade?
Yeah, about 5th grade.
Okay, with order of operations. So a younger child, if you're doing this with your younger child, parents, they may not really get why you have to multiply first. And in fact, they may be still working on their multiplication problems. So they may just take the first one, the first orange, and say, well, that's 1, and then add the 4 to it to get what? 5, and then multiply that times the 3 to get 15. So depending on where your child is, you might end up with a couple of answers. Now you say, oh no, I just want one answer. But mathematics is not all about, and problem solving rather, is not all about finding that one right answer. And the reason we love this one, both of these we like, but the reason we really loved this one is that it can lead to multiple answers depending on where your children are and how they sort of flow through that problem. So
yeah, and let me add to that. You could always solve it as a parent and then ask your kids to solve it. And when you do that, you'll come up with 2 different answers. And then one of the questions we were just talking about is just ask them, how did mom or how did dad get this answer? Why did you get this answer? And just have that discussion about, right, is it right or wrong? Does it matter? Like, those are good math questioning techniques you can use, because it doesn't have to be right. Like, I think those are the things that we learned when we were in school and we talk about the new math. We do want right answers, but sometimes it's more about the processing and thinking through the mathematics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely is about the process, because it's the thinking that you want to engage your students in the thinking. And if they're comparing, you say, well, mom and dad and I, we did it, and this is what we got. How do you think we got this? Especially if they're older and they've studied order of operations, they may kick in on that. So that's good. Do we have another one, Mel?
Let's see if I can get it over here.
We're kind of down to our last minute. Ooh, yes. We may have to put this one along with our calendar problem, because these are great algebra tools, but they're being offered in a way that you don't think about you're studying algebra. Exactly. And algebra is a great course, great content. We love algebra as teachers, as math teachers, but there are different ways to present to students the concepts of algebra. And here's a great one that we found. We Googled it and we found it, and we thought, oh, we're going to share that with the parents. This deals with the balancing and scales, if you will, right? And so we'll put these up on our webpage, because we want to make sure that we kind of stay within our time frame. But just to explain, you've got something that the total weight is 48, and then it's divvied up, and then you got things that are hanging. You got these mobiles that are hanging, and the idea is to figure out what is each mobile worth. What is the star worth? What is the little hexagon worth? And what is the that looks like a can or something, right, Mel? I'm not sure exactly what that is. So that's one. So parents, we're going to leave that for you all to think about with your family. Involve your family in this. Math is about real life thinking. And again, we're hitting this problem solving really heavy. We're going to talk more about some of the other constructs in math in the upcoming episodes, but get involved in just solving these problems, making them fun or puzzle, or if you have more high school kids, then see who can solve it the quickest, right? Make it a little competition if you have to. Mel, do we have time to at least flash up the other one?
We can. Yep. Let's see. There we go. That's our Ken Ken.
Oh, Ken Ken. Oh my goodness, I forgot about Ken Ken. Well, we're going to have to explain this really quickly. We might have to come back to Ken Ken.
Why don't we come back to that one? Why don't we come back to that next week, and then possibly. So here's our last one. It's our calendar. Yay, calendar math. This is pretty awesome.
This is pretty awesome. I like this one. But now what we're going to have to do on this one, parents, you're going to block out any 3x3 grid on the calendar, wherever you can find. I don't know, Mel, if you could draw a 3x3 grid on any of those dates. So it's maybe like start with 2. Yeah, that's good. A 3x3. Oops.
Yeah, watch my writing. Sorry, it's a little. I don't have a mouse. I can erase it. There we go.
Come down, bring it down to a 3x3 if you can. I know it's a little tricky.
Okay, 3x3. Okay, let's
see. With all the dates. Start with 2, maybe. Start with 2 to the second date. Yeah, can you just draw a 3x3, go all the way down, and then go over? Yes. Okay, we're doing it live, folks, but you can see. But you can choose any date to start and draw that 3x3 grid. That's perfect, Mel. That looks great. And what you're going to do is find the sum of all the dates that are in that 3x3 grid without adding them up individually, right, Mel?
Yeah, so, it's like number talks. I don't know if you've heard of number talks, but it's a way of thinking about math and talking about math without writing, counting on your fingers or writing it down, just looking for the pattern that you see in a calendar.
Right. And then choose different patterns, parents. Choose different, your child may choose a different pattern, or you may do a different pattern. And you're going to come up with, how can I find the sum of all the dates in that grid without just going, and don't use a calculator, because you don't need to use a calculator.
Don't use a calculator. Don't pick up your phone.
Bring a pencil. I have a mechanical pencil right here. Bring a pencil.
That one right here, my favorite color. That's so
we believe in pencils, yes, and we got erasers too. So do that. It's a very fun problem. Try and find the pattern. There is a pattern, because math is about patterns too. So try and find a pattern. We're going to have to wrap it up, but we will put these two on our webpage, right, Mel? So that they can download them from our webpage, or maybe download them from with some instructions. We'll have the instructions there, but that's basically it. You're going to try and figure out what is the sum of those dates without adding them up individually. How can you find a quick way to get to that sum? Okay. Well, Mel, man, we've had a lot of fun. It's approaching our 30 minutes. Maybe we have to think about 20 to 30 minutes coming to you, but we've had a fun time chatting with you, parents. We've got some things coming up next week. We're still going to be talking about STEM and STEAM and stream. We're going to talk about stream. He's like, well, I wonder what that is. Well, we will be sharing that in our next episodes upcoming. Mel, you want to take us out? What else have we left off here?
So please come back and join us at our Facebook page, which is Math Chats with Parents. Please, when you go into our group, if your child is working on some math or something you have questions about, put it in the chat. Comments. We will get back with you as soon as possible. You can also visit us at www.mathchatsforparents.com and just put that in. Go ahead, and at the bottom of the page, you will find a comment section. Go ahead and add comments or even resources for us to contact you and send you material at a later date. So we just want to say thank you again for joining us for Math Chats for Parents.
Yes, and thank you.
Please ask other parents to join us. And thank you so much for joining us. Any last words, Michelle?
Yeah, and they can go back. We're uploading these on, they can go back and watch them again and share it with parents. But yes, we will put these assignments up for you to do with your kids so that they can be thinking critically about mathematics. And we will join you next week again for Math Chats for Parents. Yay! Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you later. God bless.
Bye-bye.